Hello viewers, I am back with my next presentation from Animal Behavior. Today I am going to discuss another important topic, that is aggressive behavior in animals. The learning outcomes of the presentation are components of aggressive behavior, types of aggressive behavior, factors of aggression, endogenous factors of aggression, exogenous factors of aggression, and hawk-dove theory. So let us start our topic, aggressive behavior. Aggression is among the most conspicuous of all animal activities. Aggression is defined as threats or harmful actions directed toward another individual and can include threat displays, lunging, growling, snarling, snapping, and biting. Aggression refers to behavior that is intended to harm another individual. Violence is aggression that creates extreme physical harm. Aggression is expressed depending upon its intensity from mild to medium to most pronounced. For example, chasing, fighting, grabbing, pulling, pushing, banging, then biting, and the facial expressions. So these are the different types of expressions of aggression. Characteristics of aggression. There are many characteristics of aggression, but some of them are: aggression includes many forms of behaviors varying from species to species, but their function is similar. Aggression is genetically controlled. It has high degree of heritability and therefore has adaptive value, and it is influenced by environment. Aggression, it is a means of communication. Dogs and cats use aggressive displays, threats and attacks to resolve competitive disputes over resources, or to increase their reproductive potential, or to escape threatening situations. Aggression describes the behavior but does not give any information about underlying motives or causes. Aggression can have multiple motivations. Let us see why aggression occurs. Aggression sometimes occurs when parents defend their young from attack by members of their own species. More frequently, animals fight over resources such as food and shelter. Another important resource over which fighting commonly occurs is potential mates. In this case, the biology of gamete production has an influence on aggressive behavior. Because a female's eggs are larger, are fewer in number, and require more energy to produce than a male's sperm. So, competition among males over females is usually more frequent and intense than competition among females over males. A common feature of aggression in most species is that fights tend to start with relatively harmless displays or postures. For example, aggressive interactions between two red deer stags begin with an exchange of deep roars followed by a display of parallel walking, in which the stags stood side by side assessing their relative size. There are four components of aggressive behavior. First one, agonistic or threat. The term agonistic has broader meaning than aggressive behavior because it includes threats, displays, retreats, placation, etc. Although agonistic behavior varies among species, agonistic interaction consists of three kinds of behaviors: threat, aggression, and submission. Then conflict. Conflict is a clash or disagreement, often violent, between two opposing groups or individuals. Submission postures are called appeasement displays if used to appease, a striking characteristic of animals. And last one, it is the escape. Escape, it is an important component of aggressive behavior because animals decide when best to flee rather than fight. So these are the four components of aggressive behavior. There are two types of aggressive behavior. Number one, predatory or anti-predatory, and second one, intraspecific aggressive behavior. In predatory or anti-predatory type of behavior, animals prey upon or defend themselves from other animals of different species. And in intraspecific, animals attack members of their own species. There are different factors of aggressive behavior. Aggression is influenced by internal and external stimuli, hunger, thirst, pain, breeding, and other social circumstances, genetic factors, learning processes, and frustrating memories. Let us discuss one by one. First one, role of strangers or xenophobia. The strongest evoker of aggressive response in animals is the sight of a stranger, especially a territorial intruder. This xenophobic principle has been seen in every group of animals species chase away a stranger trying to come inside their territories. Role of crowding or proximate aggression. Increased crowding causes decrease in the space availability per animal and consequently the fighting begins. The introduction of a strange individual generates a substantial increase of aggression among residents because they add to crowding. Both human and non-human animals tend to act most ferociously towards strangers. Territorial aggression. Territory plays an important role for the territorial males. These territorial males are tolerant towards females. The females entering the male territory assume appeasement posture. Aggression may be focused on a specific area, such as a defended territory from which rivals are vigorously excluded. Here in this picture, the urban male sparrows leads us to predict that the urban areas considered would have a higher density of birds than the surrounding rural areas. Tigers are solitary and territorial. Within their territory, a tiger may have a number of dens in caves, hollow trees, and dense vegetation. This is an instinctive behavior that allows them to protect. Breeding or sexual aggression. The aggressive interactions in most species peak in the breeding season. Males threaten or attack rival males and sometimes also threaten biting, mating females. Mates are an important resource and are cause of aggression. Sexual aggression is highly seasonal. Here in the picture, male guppy fish are wired to mate, and in a male-only guppy aquarium, males will start to become aggressive towards each other if there are not any females around. Aggression may progress to the point where there will be fights between male guppies. And breeding season brings out the aggression in bugs also. Pain and aggression. Animals behave aggressively in response to pain. If they have been hurt many days ago and still have a pain, will have aggressively. Aggression in both human and non-human animals has been attributed to frustration. Offer a hungry rat access of food at the end of a runway, then put a glass barrier just before he reaches it. The rat will behave aggressively. It will scratch and bite. Dominance aggression. Displays by dominant animals towards subdominant group members, such as the strutting walk of lemmings, tail up by rhesus, and facial expression and tail carriage in wolves, prevents unnecessary fights among the conspecifics without any experience of it. Establishment of dominance hierarchy helps conserving time and energy among the members of a social group. Once the dominance is established, maybe by fighting, but later it is followed by just showing off the strength by exposing canines or horns or antlers. Subordinates respond by appeasement signals. There are two types of endogenous factors of aggression: hormone and neuroendocrine. So, there are many hormones which influence aggressiveness in animals. Aggressive behavior in an animal appears to be associated with the breeding periodicity. Areas of brain that are involved in predatory aggression are the amygdala of the forebrain and the central gray of the midbrain. Hypothalamus is involved in defense and escape behavior in a wide variety of vertebrates. Now, role of hormone in aggressive behavior. Among vertebrates, it is generalization that males are more aggressive than females. Testosterone is associated with aggressiveness. Another important gland is adrenal. When this is removed, aggressiveness decreases. In animal kingdom, males are more aggressive because they have to compete for females. This is a major selective pressure favoring male aggressiveness. The influence of testosterone. Now we know that testosterone plays a very important role in the aggression. Many vertebrate brain structures involved in the control of aggression are richly supplied with receptors that bind with hormones produced in the endocrine system, in particular with steroid hormone produced by the gonads. In a wide range of vertebrate species, there is a clear relationship between a male's aggressiveness and his circulating levels of androgens such as testosterone, a hormone produced in the testes. From fish to mammals, aggression levels rise and fall with natural fluctuations in testosterone level. Let us see what is the role of hypothalamus in aggression. Hypothalamus is situated near the pituitary gland and it plays a very important role in the animal aggression. The hypothalamus is involved in defense and escape behavior in a wide variety of vertebrates from fish to primates. The hypothalamus also plays a role in emotion. Specifically, its lateral parts are involved with pleasure, while the median part is involved with displeasure and a tendency to uncontrollable and loud laughing. Stimulation of lateral hypothalamic area produces a biting attack with on defensive elements. Amygdala plays a very important role in the aggressive behavior. Areas of the brain that are involved in predatory aggression are the amygdala of the forebrain and the central gray of the midbrain. This occurs because the amygdala is the primary structure of the brain responsible for fight or flight response. Each amygdala is located close to hippocampus in the frontal portion of the temporal lobe. The clusters of the amygdala are activated when an individual expresses feelings of fear or aggression. The amygdala is directly associated with conditioned fear. Now, limbic system and aggression. So, this diagram highlights the limbic system. There are several important structures within the limbic system like the amygdala, hippocampus, thalamus, hypothalamus, basal ganglia and cingulate gyrus. The limbic system is rich in neurons containing serotonin and norepinephrine. Observations suggest that high levels of serotonin are associated with reduced aggressiveness and that high levels of norepinephrine are associated with increased aggressiveness. In a range of vertebrate species, fighting experience has a marked effect on brain biochemistry, especially on the limbic system. Role of neurotransmitters in aggression. Chemical messengers or neurotransmitters are involved in the transmission of nerve impulses across synapses or across nerve muscle junctions. These can produce excitatory or inhibitory effects depending on the nature of the postsynaptic receptors. Best known perhaps is the acetylcholine, which is involved in the neuromuscular junction and in the autonomic nervous system. Norepinephrine is widespread in the pons and medulla, with fibers projecting anteriorly to the mid and forebrain. Dopamine and serotonin are found in the midbrain, with fibers projecting anteriorly to the hypothalamus, amygdala and striatum. Genes and aggression. Is aggression innate or learned? It has both answers, yes and no. It is partially determined by heredity. According to Lawrence, individuals reared in a non-frustrating environment will still be aggressive. The synthesis of nerve structures, neurosecretions, and other compounds is under genetic control, and aggressive behavior is shaped by natural selection, as in other behavior. Genes controlling aggressive behavior may be localized on certain chromosomes. Offensive behavior in male mice, which involves bite and kick attacks, is influenced by a region of Y chromosome. Now we see what are the exogenous factors of aggression. Starvation. Starvation is an exogenous factor for aggression because we know hungry animals fight vigorously. For example, chaffinches and yellow buntings fight more when hungry. Fighting is over once the food becomes available to these birds after a period of starvation. Frustration. Frustration is another cause which elicits aggression. Frustration is defined as interference with the occurrence of an instigated goal response at its proper time in the behavior sequence. Frustration is motivation for aggressive behavior and leads to fighting in hungry animals. Role of experience in aggression. Aggression is influenced by experience. Experience shapes levels of aggressiveness. Animals reared in isolation are relatively more aggressive. Absence of litter males in the pre-weaning stage and of pairs in the post-weaning stage stimulates aggression in mice. Appetite. Appetite plays an important role in aggression. Aggression is regarded as one of the motivated behavior. So, it appears that the animal becomes more aggressive if reared under some situations. Sex. The relationship between sex hormones, particularly testosterone, and aggression is striking in seasonally breeding species. As the gonads increase in size in response to environmental changes, fighting and wounding increase as well. Most of this increase is related to competition for breeding territories, social rank, and for females also. So, these are the exogenous factors of aggression. Here we will discuss a model of aggressive behavior which is known as hog-dove model, and the theory is hog-dove theory. A game theory model such as the famous hog-dove model formulated in 1973 by English biologist John Maynard Smith and American biologist George Price starts by defining a set of behavioral options or strategies chosen to highlight the question at issue. Smith and Price independently developed a model of how displays rather than all-out fighting would be selected for at the level of the individual. During agonistic encounters, the decision about whether to attack, display or flee depends on what the other participants does. Various alternative courses or actions are called strategies. The participant's choice of strategy is assumed to be heritable. The outcome of each game is determined by a payoff matrix or a predetermined set of outcomes, the cost and benefits that result from different strategies. Let us explain the hog-dove model. In the hog-dove model, it is assumed that when a hawk fights another hawk, it sustains injury and loses 50% of the time, but in the remaining 50% manages to injure the opponent and emerge victorious. A dove also wins 50% of fights against another dove, but only after a lengthy, more or less mutual exchange of displays. Doves always lose fights against hawks, but they flee before they are injured. So hypotheses about the cost and benefits of fighting over resources or of using the two strategies are formalized in a payoff matrix such as shown in the figure, which defines the net gain result to hawks and doves when paired against each kind of opponent. From these net gains and from the current relative frequencies of hawks and doves in a hypothetical population, the overall fitness of animals adopting each strategy can be calculated. So here V is the fitness value of winning resources in fight. D is the fitness cost of injury and T is the fitness cost of wasting time. So here in this case, when two hawks fight, then the payoff matrix will be V minus D by 2. When two doves fight, then the payoff will be V by 2 minus T. When a hawk fight against a dove, then will be payoff matrix will be only V. So from these formulae, the cost and benefits of fighting over resources can be calculated. Lastly, I want to add some significance of aggression. Aggressive behavior has the adaptive significance of reducing intraspecific conflict and avoiding overt fighting, which is not in the best interest of the species. Most species channel their aggression into ritual contest of strength and threat postures, which are universally recognized by the species. Horned animals such as deer, moose, ibex and chamois may resort to butting contest for which ground rules exist. Only the horns are allowed to clash and they are not used on the exposed and vulnerable flank. And these are the references from which I have prepared my presentation. So that's all for today. Thank you. My email ID is abairagee9@gmail.com.